Hey guys, what's up? It's Dani, Max, and Keely Lou.
And you're listening to the Coming Out Happy podcast.
This is where we talk about our experiences being LGBTQ, how we're helping the community, and where we are today.
All right. Welcome to the Coming Out Happy podcast. We are back, but this time we have a special guest. We've had a couple special guests this week. Olivia, you are the second special guest that we've ever had. So we're so excited to welcome you. You are the host and founder of Liberate Studio. It's a wellness studio that not only focuses on physical health, but mental health as well, because that is so important. Today we'll be uncovering Olivia's story, who she is, and what led her to start her own wellness studio. But before we get started, Olivia, do you want to tell everyone where they can find all of your socials?
Oh my God, I love that intro. First of all, thank you. You guys can find me on @Liberate Studio on Instagram, and it's www.liberatestudio.com for our website. You can check out our whole class schedule there.
Perfect. Awesome. Yeah, well, I'm so excited to dive into Olivia's story, what she's been up to, and how she's really making an impact on the LGBTQ plus community. But to get started, Dani, I feel like you know a little bit more of like the background story. How did we meet? Let's tell everyone how this happened. This is your friend from camp, right?
No,
it was high school. Okay.
Yeah.
So tell the story of how you met Olivia.
So
through the grapevine.
one of our founders of Coming Out Happy, Morgan, reached out to me saying, I forgot exactly how you're related to each other.
I originally called us sisters-in-law. That's not how like family trees work. Her brother is marrying my sister. That does not make us sisters-in-law. I just want to clarify, but like close enough to call us that, maybe. Anyway, that's how Morgan and I know each other.
Yeah, but
That's
awesome.
awesome.
It was just great to have other people in the community to connect with on such a strong and deeper level. It seemed like our missions really aligned, and it was so great to have us connect.
Yeah.
So I'm super glad to have you here. It's gonna be awesome.
I know, and I remember the first time that we met, I think it was through a Zoom, and we're like, oh my gosh, we got to have you meet our Coming Out Happy family. And then we did our first event where you hosted and everyone loved. And I know a couple people actually went to your one-off events that you do, but we'll get into everything that Olivia does. But before we start, I don't want to go too far ahead. Olivia, tell everyone a little bit about you, where you're from, and just kind of where you're at right now.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, where I'm currently.
Yeah.
I'm from upstate New York, born and raised, pretty wholesome upbringing in the country. And I went to Syracuse University, also in upstate. So shout out to anyone who went to SU who's listening.
Okay.
And I was always kind of business oriented, even in high school. So I studied marketing in school, and immediately went to LA after school, thinking I would just go for the summer to have some fun. And 4.5 years later, I am still here. So the, active, healthy lifestyle of LA just really spoke to me. I think the West Coast is where my soul belongs. So I've been here ever since and popped around a few different startups, working for marketing departments and learning as I went until I found the inspiration to start something of my own, which is Liberate. And that's where I am now.
That's so amazing. I love that. And I feel like Dani can relate, like being from New York, and then coming to the West Coast. It's like it's a different lifestyle, right?
It's so different. Everything about it is different. It's a slower pace, but it just feels a lot more calm.
Yeah.
Here, and the weather is a lot nicer, and I love it.
Do you think being over here is something that like got you into that lifestyle where you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm so passionate about this. I want to start something, and you started Liberate. Do you think you would have started it back home in New York, or do you think you started it only because you moved here and realized maybe some of the things you realized? I know that started off a little deep, but we'll get into it.
I mean, that's an amazing question that I haven't really thought about, but I am of the opinion that New York can bring out the worst in you, or brought out the worst in me. Like walking around New York City, I have a frown on my face. I'm like looking like, you better not talk to me. And it just kind of created this attitude within myself versus the West Coast version of me is like smiling at everybody, shooting the shit with like whoever I meet in a coffee shop. And it brought out this more open, lighter version of myself. So I think I kind of evolved into a more mindful human being just by the environment that I was in out here. And, Liberate is a mental wellness studio. So I don't know if my mental health would have been in as strong of a place if I was living in New York to actually, seek something like this out. So probably not.
Yeah.
Did the weather ever get to you? Like just with your mental health and anything like that? Like I know that during the winter months, like I just plummeted every single winter just with how I felt about myself and life. Did that ever happen to you?
Yeah, I mean, seasonal depression is a real thing. And growing up in upstate New York, it's gray pretty much every day, except for like a couple months in the summer. So I was fairly used to the weather. I was also a ski racer my whole life. I skied at college. I was a collegiate athlete and kind of thrived in the winter in that sense. But definitely in terms of like, when I wasn't skiing, it's just gray outside. You just kind of want to sit around. I don't think it energizes you as much as, the sunshine and warm every day energizes me here. So I'm sure that has something to do with it.
Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. We've only been here for, how long have you been here?
So 4.5 years?
4.5 years.
Okay,
yeah.
4.5 years. Yeah, we've only been here for like a year and a half, and I feel like every day I'm like, I'm never leaving. I love it here. And I feel like once you move here and you get into the groove of things, you're just like, this is my place. Like I love it. But the people that have lived here their whole life are probably like, it's time for me to go. But I'm just so grateful every single day. Like I wake up and I'm like, this is my place. I feel like I think clear. I don't know what it is. It might be the sun. It might be the ocean. Just helping you really like reconnect with nature. I feel like when it is dark and maybe you are away from all the beautiful things, it's like, it's easy to get wrapped up in your own life and what you're doing. But yeah, it definitely is, you should move to California. Anyone who's listening, this was actually this was an ad. Yeah, it actually was. So yeah, if you're listening, just so you know, just head on over, pack your bags today, and we'll see you soon. But yeah, no, I'm super excited that we're both in California. That means that we can meet up. We actually haven't met up yet, but we plan to. So we'll definitely post pics when that happens. What were you gonna say? You're gonna say something about California, I thought. When I was talking. Oh, okay. So question for you, Olivia. So you moved here, then you finished college, right? After you moved here?
No, I finished school on the East Coast.
Okay.
And it was so the summer after school, I had a friend who lived on Venice Beach. She was like, you can come live in my attic for the summer. And I was like, that sounds literally like the best time. So I went out there and did that. And then I had a job lined up in New York. I was going to get this big corporate job working for Macy's, which is a blessing that I didn't take because Macy's isn't doing so hot right now. But I just fell in love with it out here and kind of assumed, which is something I do often, that I would just figure it out. So I decided to stay here and find somewhere to live, find a job off of LinkedIn, and just kind of see where it took me.
Yeah. So then the last couple years you've been working for other people. And then I know Liberate was launched about 4 months ago. So how long before then did you start really thinking about this is the route I want to go before you really took it on?
Yeah. I always knew I wanted to start something of my own and didn't know what it was, but I always said, once I have that idea that I'm like, this is it, this is necessary, I'll just go for it.
Yeah.
And patiently sitting, waiting for it to come to me. And about a year and a half ago, my friends and I were chatting, sitting around a pool and talking about our friends who are super stressed out and anxious, hate their jobs, don't like the way they look, feel really lonely, and ourselves who found that in ourselves as well. And just wishing that there was somewhere we could go for that. It started out actually as the idea for a confidence camp. And then it was like, yeah, but what about our anxieties and what about everything else we feel? And I'm really big into boutique physical fitness studios. So, I pre-COVID was going to Pilates or boxing or Barry's boot camp or Soul Cycle, 5 days a week at least.
Yeah.
And really was investing so much time and money into my physical body and next to nothing into my mental health, which the disparity there was kind of mind blowing. And, I meditate with Headspace or Calm, those meditation apps. And you could always go to therapy to explore your feelings, but both of those options really vary in price, and they're also really solo journeys. There's nowhere where you can have a community and a group journey while working on yourself. And that was something that I thought was a huge gap and something that I really wanted, and I think my friends would really want. So I decided then to explore it a little bit. I talked with a lot of different psychologists, a lot of sports psychologists, and started working really closely with a sports psychologist by the name of Carl Dauber. And he really interestingly teaches mental health practice to collegiate athletes.
Yeah.
So these college athletes are required by their coaches, say in track and field, to, in addition to their physical training, do sessions with Carl every week to work on their mental health, because the coaches know that if their mental health is in a good place, they're going to perform better and they're going to win races. And it blew my mind that college athletes get this support for, top-notch performance, and we don't have the opportunity for support so that we're just performing the best in our lives. And we started chatting, on a very regular basis. I kind of really bothered him, I think, probably asking a million questions, but just learning more about the space and how we could create effective curriculum to help, all human beings live their best lives, whether they're an athlete or not.
Yeah, no, totally. And being a college athlete, I know my school didn't have that. And that's something I always wish I had, right? Because we can get so caught up in our heads, and you can be the best of the best, and you can have great skills, but if you don't have that mental capacity to take on a game, I mean, you're done, you're toast. It changes everything when you have that like next level. My mind can take me there. I know I can win, but when you don't have that, it's so easy to get caught. And I'm sure skiing, right? You were probably in your head a ton, right?
Absolutely. And that like tenses you up. I mean, there's a reason why some of the best athletes in the world, like LeBron James, meditates all day long. And he's a huge proponent of, mindfulness. So that should tell you something.
Totally. Yeah. I know Tony Robbins works with a lot of people too, just really making them feel like they can accomplish anything, which is amazing. I love hearing stories and like learning about that as well. It's so interesting. But so you learned a little bit about this, and then like, what was it? What was the point where you're like, I have to create it? Like, what gave you that confidence, that boost, and like just set you on fire to be like, this is it?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to, I guess, pinpoint an exact moment. It really was a feeling inside of me that just kept building. And I went to business school, so I can be very type A about things. So I started making a business plan, and I was like, I'm just going to do the research and form a business plan and see if everything lines up. And I would spend my weekends working on the business plan and researching the industry and the stats. And it was just more and more momentum into like, this is a really huge gap. And then honestly, COVID started, and loneliness was an epidemic before COVID, and COVID hit, and anxiety and stress and depression went through the roof. And I also happened to have a little bit more time at home because I wasn't commuting anymore. So I just started working on the branding with my girlfriend as like a fun project, and then decided to lead a few classes with Black Lives Matter movement. We donated, proceeds to the ACLU. So we had some event-based initiatives to start. And then there was honestly just a pretty natural interest from my community and my friends. So I started leading virtual classes, like you said, about 4 months ago. And it's kind of snowballed from there into something that I think has a ton of potential to really change the way people live their daily lives.
That's so cool. And obviously you started, you were believing in it before, but there was something that probably shifted in you when you quit your job, right? Tell me more about that. I think that's such an amazing story. Like,
get up to
I know, but she was like, it started going, and you were like, you quit your job. You're like, this is going to work. When did that moment click for you? Like, just people started showing up. You felt good after the classes. What was that like for you?
Yeah. Well, first of all, surrounding yourself with expanders like you two, who also, chose to not, have a job or to quit your job to pursue being unhappy, is really important to see other people do something like this and succeed, because it is a huge leap. Yeah. I'm pretty big into manifesting, and I think I have been saying for at least a year, oh, September 2020, I'll quit my job and I'll do this full time. And then the initial plan was, open an in-person studio in 2021, pre-COVID, of course. But I just always had that timeline in my mind. And the more I worked on it and the closer we got to September, I was like, well, this is when I'm going to quit my job because this is just when I'm going to quit my job. And so, I kind of always was working toward that timeline. And I, quit my job about a month ago or 2 weeks ago.
Cool. We love it.
But it's not something to do lightly, especially during a pandemic. I was grateful to have a job and to be taken care of in that way. So this was a little bit of a risk, but I, set up other opportunities as safety nets to catch myself with this job. And, just really wanted to be able to put more time into Liberate, into the growth of the community. And that was something that I could not do while also working a full-time job and being respectful to that. So it kind of seemed like the only option.
Right. No, totally. And you just said it. It seems like the only option. When you make that decision, whatever it is in your life, and that you're just going to believe in it and you're going to pick, option A and forget about option B, and that's all you have, you are more likely to put everything you have into it, because you always have something to fall back on if you don't, right? And of course, it's good to have options of things, but to really invest in something and not have that job. I'm sure you're even more, I'm sure you were before, but too, now you're like, oh my gosh, this is it. I've got to invest everything into this. And you're just going to keep going. Even when the days come and you're like, it's not working. Maybe this isn't right. You just keep going because you believe. And it's to get to that level, I feel is something is crazy to experience. It's surpassing fear and putting everything in a bigger perspective. I remember just crying to Dani, I quit my job too. And I remember crying like this, I could choose something stable and that I knew that I would just be fine and I'd be comfortable. But was it going to fulfill me? Yeah. Wasn't going to fulfill me. It's not what I wanted. And I knew that I had more in me to give. And I was just you just take it. You just jump off and you would close your eyes. And it's I'm sure you're sitting, you're thinking about the day you quit. It's it's important to have a supportive community around you, I think, during it too. Because it's hard to do alone.
Yeah,
for sure.
If you don't see anybody else out there doing it and seeing that it's possible, I feel it is a little bit harder. Yeah. But there were days when I was working on my thing. I had 2 computers open and I was literally, because you had to work at the same time. Literally, I was answering chats on my corporate job, and I was typing code over on our website. It was just it's so much. But when you're so passionate about something, you're just screw that corporate job. This is what I'm here for. And I'm so excited to work on it. Yeah. It's so fun though that you get to do this full time. That's what life is all about. I'm proud of you. That's so badass. There we go.
That's so cool. I remember the day you told us, and I was like, wow, it's just it makes you feel good too. It's another person's also doing it. We're chasing our dreams, and it's so cool that we can partner together. And obviously we have an event coming up that we'll talk about towards the end. But we're collaborating and we're creating something so beautiful together. And we're just believing in it with all our heart. And I think that's what makes it so special. So I love that. For you, what was your biggest challenge you overcame when starting it? Was it fear? Was it just whatever it was? What was that for you?
I think something that my other friend who's a co-founder as well of her own business, we talk about a lot, is this idea of, committing to doing it is a huge mountain to climb. And, launching the brand itself, you're oh my God, I did it. I have a brand and I am a success. And then you just kind of assume if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
And they don't. So I think that was huge for me because I felt I had done it once I had launched and just assumed that, the branding was strong and the messaging was there and the mission is purposeful.
Yeah.
We will, grow. And it requires so much work and outreach to build that awareness and interest. And I think it was just, not that I've overcome it, but I've had to pivot and, pivot my idea of what things are going to be like and pivot what's needed for the brand in order to continue to move forward. And it's just, every time you get to the top of a mountain, there's another even bigger one on the other side. And learning that and reminding myself of that as I go is something that, it's just like another new challenge every day. But I think, just learning the work that's going to go into each human being, getting every single human being into the brand or looking on our page, that is an accomplishment in itself.
Oh, I love that. I know you're doing amazing things. And like, even just coming to one of your classes that you hosted for Coming Out Happy, I was like, I felt so good. Like you truly do leave feeling refreshed and reconnected and balanced with not only, just stretching out your body, but also like your mind, writing things down and truly just experiencing everything. I thought you did an amazing job hosting. Were you always into hosting stuff, or how did that go for you? Were you ever nervous?
Yeah. So for anyone listening who doesn't know, our class leaders include myself and 3 other incredible women. And, we say leading instead of teaching because we're really guiding you through an experience, and helping you dive deeper through some physical movement, through yoga or gentle stretching. And then we journal and reflect together. We have a chance to talk as a group and share our experience, and we meditate as well. So all elements of class I'm familiar with as a consumer, and I was a spin instructor for years. So I had familiarity guiding in that sense, but I would argue, mindfulness is another level of leading. It dives much deeper into your, mind-body connection versus just your body. So it was definitely an adjustment, but I was nervous to lead at first. I just wanted to hire people. I didn't want to do it myself. And I was talking to this consultant of mine, and he was like, you just need to start doing it. Like, just start doing it and get people's feedback and see what they think. Like, why do you need someone else to do it? And he said that, and I was like, well, I guess I don't. Yeah. And, he just kind of pushed me out of my comfort zone in that way. And I absolutely love leading now. I think it's something I would, always do in some capacity, even as the brand grows, because it really is so rewarding to, have this connection with other human beings.
Yeah, that's so cool. I love that. And I think the common theme throughout this entire podcast has been when you just do it, right? You just go out and it doesn't even matter. You're just doing it, and then you become that person and you start to gain the skills to do something you thought you couldn't, which is really incredible. Also, I wanted to ask you, I know I didn't tell you about this question, so it might catch you a little bit off guard, but being a part of the LGBTQ plus community, how do you incorporate that into, your business and classes and everything that you do?
Yeah, that's a great question. I want to support all human beings. We say Liberate is for everyone with an open mind. It does not matter the way you look, the way you dress, the communities you affiliate with. Truly, everyone is welcome. And as a part of, an LGBTQ plus community, it was important for me to not just say that, but show that. So partnering with you guys, doing events specifically for, specific organizations and communities. We have another, Latin community that we support. And there's just different ways to, not only say, but do, I think is really important for me. And being authentic in that, our event coming up is the authenticity event. And regardless of whether or not you're in the LGBTQ plus community or not, everyone is, working on finding their authentic self and living that life, whatever it looks like for you. So my job, my responsibility to myself and to every community is to actively create opportunities for all of us to connect. And so that's why I'm really excited for our event, because I think that that's going to do, a good job of just broadening the community a little bit.
That's so amazing. I love that. Yeah, no, definitely just like taking it to the next level with the meditation and like really diving into you, because I think, no matter who you are, but especially as an LGBTQ plus person, you have a lot of things that maybe you haven't worked through yet, but to really dive into that with meditation and like the mindfulness of it and incorporating your body is like a next level thing, you know? So that's really, really cool too. And I love it. I've been into meditation for only a year and a half or so, but it's changed my entire life. I feel clearer and I feel like I can accomplish anything I want. And you don't get that when you're so caught up in looking at your phone. I mean, I was speaking about this the other day, that it's so easy for us to pick up our phone, right, at any second, and just to check for like 2 seconds to see what everyone else is doing in their life. But why not take that time for you and like start your mornings with a clear mind, instead of the first thing you do is scrolling on your phone, right? And when did that start for you? When did you start getting into meditation and like really start taking that time to yourself?
Yeah, I think just, to talk to what you just spoke on is meditation allows you to be more comfortable in your skin. There's so many people who don't want to meditate or are scared of meditating because the idea of sitting still with your thoughts is so uncomfortable, which I totally understand. So, you start small, you only do a little bit, only 5 minutes, and it's totally guided. But if you love yourself, you can sit with yourself all day, and especially with LGBTQ plus, while you're going through that transition of finding yourself, whether you're in it or not, it's important to be able to be with yourself. And I just read the book Untamed by Glennon Doyle, which I cannot praise enough. And she talks about how, the moments where you're bored, that's where creativity happens. That's where growth happens. That's where change happens, because you're allowing your mind to do what it does best, which is to explore yourself.
Right.
So, for me, meditation is something I've done for a very long time, since high school. And I definitely do it more religiously now, but I had, really bad anxiety during college and after college. And it was tough for me to be in my own skin sometimes. And meditation helped calm those nerves. And it's taught me to coexist with my anxiety. When you have like a panic attack or where you feel overcome with anxiety, it's easy to feel like you're not in control. You've left the building. Your anxiety is in your body now. Your hands are tied. And through meditating, it's like, okay, I have anxiety right now, but I'm still here.
Yep.
We're just kind of living together. We're, best friends. We go everywhere together. And, you start to have a more loving mentality towards your anxiety instead of thinking it's pushing you out of your own body. And, you start to regain some of that control that, at one point in your practice, you weren't able to live with.
Yeah, no, totally. I absolutely love that. And if you could give maybe someone listening right now, it's like, that sounds like something I really want to get into. If you could give one piece of advice of how to get into that, I know the silence can be hard, but how can you work through that? What's one thing that they can maybe start implementing in their lives today, right now? As soon as this podcast is over, maybe they pause it, whatever it is. What's that one piece of advice to really start, getting into this and not feeling like it's weird? I feel like that's the biggest thing. Like, this is weird. I don't like it.
Like the uncomfortable. Yeah. Well, the first thing is to take a Liberate class, because we are such a supportive community. Whether you've never done yoga, you've never meditated, you've never journaled, that's perfect. It's a guided experience to help you explore yourself, and you're not alone. And the second thing that you can do right now is breathe. Tune into your breath. Inhale, exhale 3 times. We do 3 deep breaths a lot in class to start and end every class. It grounds you, it brings you into your body, it connects your mind and body with your breath. And breathing is meditating. The goal of meditation is to eventually live your life as if you're in a constant state of meditation, which may sound a little woo-woo, but the point is that you're just in full alignment the whole time. Your mind and body and breath are moving as one throughout everything that you do. And, you can start right now just by being aware that you're breathing, and it will, slowly start to shift the way you speak, the way you respond, and just the way you move throughout your day. I love breathing.
Yes, I absolutely love that. And if you're listening to this right now and you loved, some of the stuff you've heard, and you're like, you know what, I want to try that. And maybe you're like, I'm a little worried, and you're ready to take that step. We're actually hosting an event together where we'll be doing a little bit of Liberate, and then Dani and I will be doing a little workshop at the end. And you can really dive into that. And, just hearing from the podcast, all the things that we've said, you kind of got to know us a little bit. We'll be sharing some more. I think we'll throw a live Q&A in there at the end if you have questions. But it's a place where it's no judgment. You can feel comfortable being you and truly start this journey of meditating and tapping into everything that you are and everything that you can do. And it starts with the little things. And it may be uncomfortable, but as you've heard throughout this entire podcast, we've talked about stepping out of your comfort zone, right? Doing the unknown, being uncertain, but believing in it with all your heart. And really putting yourself out there, because if you're not growing, you're dying. I love that saying by Tony Robbins. I'll quote him again.
Right.
I just want to be like,
Tony Robbins.
I love Tony Robbins. But yeah, no, definitely like just stepping outside of that and not being bored and getting creative and maybe tapping into something you didn't even know you loved. And who knows, maybe you're listening right now and you become a teacher at Liberate Studio. So you never know. I love that. Yeah. So it's crazy what opportunities come from taking a risk. And we're super excited about just collaborating with you, Olivia. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing about your story. If you had anything else to say about like Liberate or just kind of like a general rundown, what would it look like if they were like, you know what, I want to attend this event, but if they wanted to attend something after, what is the schedule? How can they go about doing that?
Awesome. You guys can visit liberatestudio.com, or our Instagram page will direct you to our booking page where you can see we have classes 6 days a week. We have almost 15 classes a week right now. So you can explore our different mindful themes, whether you want to work on getting present, getting proud, practicing self-love, getting grateful, fearless, resilient. We have 5 different themes with many variations for you to dive deeper into yourself. And they're really fun. It's not intense, I promise. Our classes are held via Zoom, and it's just a great way to switch up your habitual thoughts and push your comfort zone a little bit. I mean, on a similar Tony Robbins wavelength, if it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you. So we can't expect to be doing the same thing every day and see the change we want to see in ourselves. We have to try new things. Yeah, would love to have anyone in class. We have class packs. You can do a 2-week intro for $40, which is a really great deal. And, you'll see all the different opportunity to join class on our site.
Yes, awesome. Well, thank you all so much for listening. If you want to purchase a ticket for our event coming up on September 26th, you can find all the details for that if you go to DaniMaxCoaching.com/events, or you can head over to the Instagram. It's a little bit easier. Coming Out Happy on Instagram. Click the link in our bio and it should be the first thing that pops up there on the hello page. Definitely check us out. We're super excited for the event. Lots of fun things planned that we can't wait to share. And I know it's going to be an amazing class too. So thank you so much for listening if you stayed for the whole time. We can't wait to see you on the next podcast. All right. Bye, everyone.